Little Analysis by Bellamont. Read by The Viridian Ghost. Summary. The first time Shouta Aizawa heard Midoriya Izuku analyze a hero, Midoriya was only 10 years old. Now, it should be noted that Aizawa only met Midoriya when the one-for-all bearer was 15 and not 10, so it might sound a little odd to know that the ages don't quite line up. But when one considers that Midoriya has been running a hero analysis blog and YouTube channel since he was 8 years old, and that while his identity was kept a secret, his channel was open to the public, well, it would make sense that people would find out about it. Or, what happens when Aizawa finds Midoriya's analysis channel? He subscribes, and things go from there. The first time Shouta Aizawa heard Izuku Midoriya analyze a hero, Midoriya was only 10 years old. Now, it should be noted that Aizawa only met Midoriya when the one-for-all bearer was 15, and not 10. So it might sound a little odd to know that the ages don't quite line up. But when one considers that Midoriya has been running a hero analysis blog and YouTube channel since he was 8, and that while his identity was kept a secret, his channel was open to the public, well, it makes sense that people would find out about it. And find out about it people did. Not many, of course. Well, not at first. At first it was just a few people here and there. Someone finding his blog during a long night of random readings. Or clicking on his channel while jumping into the depths of YoTube. But then, people started to notice. Midoriya was 8 when he started his channel. He kept his face hidden from the cameras, either showing pictures of heroes or fight scenes, or putting up written versions of his notes. Along with this, he was careful not to reveal anything about his personal life, up to and including his name, city of residence, and especially his quirkless status. While there were multiple reasons for this, for one, Midoriya was well taught in the dangers of the internet, and what could happen if one gave a stranger too much information. His mother made him promise to keep his identity a secret until he was at the very least started high school. Being 15 was far away, after all, and Midoriya Inko wasn't even sure that the boy would keep up the hobby for so long. He would, but that was neither here nor there. Along with the fear of the danger that was fear of hatred, Midoriya was not afraid to let people in, to let them know everything that might reveal his lack of quirk. He had seen how people dropped him before. As soon as he was announced to be lacking of a quirk, and he didn't want to lose the potential fans and friends over such an unchangeable aspect of himself. At the age of 10, Midoriya's efforts paid off because by the age of 10, his analysis had already improved immensely, and people were returning to his pages, seeing what he had uploaded, and interested in what he had to say. One of his favorite analysis recommended a video of his, and just like that, his ratings spiked. Dozens of people were reading his posts. Hundreds of subscribers looked up to him and looked forward to each video. And Aizawa was one of them. He had been watching cat videos on YouTube, and in his recommended section, a video about one of President Mike's most recent fights had popped up. Intrigued, he clicked on it. 12 minutes later, he sent the link to Yamada and Kayama, telling them to watch the video. He then went to click on another and another, and he found himself impressed enough to subscribe. He could tell that the speaker was on the younger side, yet seemed to be getting closer and closer to the professional level with every passing week. He wanted to see how they grew, and so did his two friends and fellow heroes. And they did, in more ways than they originally expected. The trio watched as the boys' channel, appropriately named Little Analyst, climbed up in numbers year after year, reaching multiple thousands of subscribers over time. His blog also grew in popularity, even being cited by official sites. Then, when Little Analysis turned 15, Aizawa met him for the first time as his student. At first, Midoriya was something of an anomaly to Aizawa. The boy held such high regards for the heroes, yet had taken the entrance exam unprepared. He loved analyzing quirks, and yet his own was completely unhonored. He had a great mind and a keen intellect, yet only came up with a solution to confirm his place in 1A at the last moment. Then Aizawa checked Midoriya's records, and in the notes on his quirk, he noticed that the boy was only registered after the entrance exam. Clearly, something was different. Midoriya was a late bloomer, a very late bloomer, in fact, and Aizawa suddenly understood why a student with such high potential was so behind. So, Aizawa decided that he would help the kid grow, if just a bit more than he would help the others. He offered Midoriya additional lessons and knew that his two companions did the same. As Aizawa thought, Midoriya latched on to it. Aizawa taught Midoriya how to fight. Yamada would teach control, and Kayama would be the one to help the boy figure out how to safely use his quirk. Being the only one whose quirk could come from his entire body, Midoriya improved at an exponential rate. Combined with the combined help of his teachers, it allowed him to soar. The boy began to reach out, growing more confident as he spoke with his teachers, occasionally sticking back after school to help Kayama with the task, chat with Yamada about something on his radio show, or remind Aizawa that he had to get up at some point. That final detail became helpful when the analysis unit came up. Aizawa knew Midoriya well. He heard the boy speak for half a decade. He knew when the boy would get nervous or embarrassed. One guaranteed way to fluster the boy? Compliment him. One compliment at the right moment could make the analysis freeze, thoughts coming to a complete halt, and his face quickly turned red. It was rather amusing, albeit also rather sad, as it quickly became clear that the boy didn't believe the compliments, or rather, he didn't believe that he deserved them. And that wasn't right. It wasn't. Midoriya was clearly a bright young boy, one who could go far if given nothing but a chance and a bit of belief. And yet it was clear he had been scorned. Aizawa had no doubt that it was because of the boy's presumed quirklessness, and that only served to make him hate the predicament all the more. But no matter his opinion on the matter, Aizawa knew that Midoriya could not be in his class for the analysis unit. At the very least, not the first day. The one might find the odd and completely unrelated, until they learned that Aizawa started the unit the same way every single year, with a video from Little Analysis, the very one that convinced Aizawa to subscribe. Aizawa knew Midoriya well, and knew that using an old video of the boys as an example of proper, practically professional analysis would be sure to embarrass the boy. It was an easier decision to have Yamada request the boy to stay back. Yamada had a free period, after all, and loved his favorite little listener. With one conversation between the overly excited blonde and the tired yet protective homeroom teacher, everything was under control. Which leads to today, with Aizawa starting the final lesson of the day despite having a certain student's presence missing. The boy in question, currently distracted by his conversation about the application of a quirk that continuously changes the humidity levels in a 5-foot radius around the wielder. The fact does not go unnoticed by the students of 1A. Of course, some begin to pipe up with their questions. "Not everyone's here," Ishido comments. "Where's Deku-kun?" Uraka wonders out loud. Midoriya-kun has yet to return from Yamada-sensei's class, as Ida points out defeatedly, and Aizawa glares at his students and flashes his quirk for good measure. It's effective, causing his class to quiet down immediately. "Midoriya will not be joining us for this lesson," Aizawa starts, then continues before any of his students can shout out their worries. "He has been excused from this unit and its assignments." "Why?" Kaminari asks immediately. What's the topic even about?" "We'll be talking about analysis and how to properly analyze your foes, surroundings, and even your fellow heroes," Aizawa explains. "Midoriya has shown by now that he is more than adept grasp on the matter. Well, enough that he has surpassed multiple professional analysis, and as such has been excused from the unit." Not that Aizawa had told Midoriya this yet, and in all honesty, in his haste to make sure that the boy was kept away from the classroom, he forgot to inform Midoriya that he'd been excused from the assignments. He'll have to do that later. As Aizawa reaches the realization, the students of 1A try to accept his reasoning. They know, of course, that Midoriya likes to analyze heroes and quirks. They've heard his mutterings, tangents, and seen him scrawling in his beloved notebook. But they never actually realized that the final thoughts he had were enough to be at the level of a professional analysis, and is more than just a random rant pieced together. Odd enough, the way Ojiro slowly lifts his hand and clears his throat awkwardly when Aizawa calls on him. "I don't mean this to be offensive, but how do you know Midoriya is good? Has he shown you his notebook?" From what Ojiro or any of his students can recall, Midoriya has never shown his notebooks. He offered to do so once, and only once. That was in the heat of the moment during the sports festival. Since then, he never brought up the idea of showing a page from his book, and no one asked. He has not, Aizawa denies, because the green-hair boy hasn't. Perhaps that's another thing Aizawa should ask about. He has been curious about what the notebook holds within its pages. "Then how do you know?" Mineta demands. "Midoriya may not be the best at analyzing." "Yaomomo is good at analyzing things, too," Jiro mutters. "But she's still here." I think this will be enough proof that Midoriya can handle himself," Aizawa says, and then he begins to play the video, projecting it onto the chalkboard. Instantly, the screen has a picture of President Mike, standing tall and proud, smiling at the camera and flashing a victory sign with his hand. A timid voice begins to speak, one that's familiar, yet softer than usual. Hey everyone, your little analysis is back with a new video. I know I promised to break down the pros and cons of committing to an aesthetic as a hero, even if it means hindering your movements, but you'll have to wait about a week for that. Sorry. The sound of someone clearing their throat fills the room, and then the speaker continues, filling the silence of the surprised classroom. Normally, I'd never make you guys wait, but a lot of people have been asking how quickly I come up with my analysis, and if I could make a video on new fights and heroes. So here we are. Today we'll be talking about President Mike's fight against Elephantum. Aizawa glances around the room, taking in his students' reactions at the name of the fight. It's clear no one recognizes it. Not a single student perks up at the mention of the fight, or even widens their eyes in recognition. Now, President Mike isn't exactly a new hero. He's been the voice hero for 8 years now, and has recently taken the rank of 76 in the most recent popularity poll. If he continues to act as he does, and doesn't slow down drastically, I've predicted that he'll reach top 50 within the next year, and might be able to get all the way up to low 30s by, well, his 30s. Yamada had indeed made it to the spot of 38 by his 30th birthday. Aizawa remembers the celebration they threw for the man, who had cried with joy and proclaimed little analysis to be his guardian angel. The speaker's voice began to grow more confident, little analysis getting more into his thoughts with every additional sentence spoken. But while President Mike isn't new to the scene, his fights are still fresh. Elephantum was just subsided a little under an hour ago. It's likely have been 2 hours by the time I figure out what pictures to use and upload this. So let's just hop right into it. The picture changes into a somewhat blurry shot of President Mike facing down the man with elephant-like features, including giant gray ears and tusks protruding from his face. Little analysis continues to talk, words ingrained in Aizawa's memory as they all fade into the background. Even though Aizawa isn't focusing on what the boy says, he knows that the greenette is recalling how Elephantum had managed to evade heroes for months. A master in stealth, even though he has noticeable features. Despite his stealth, however, the villain had a habit of becoming the center of attention once he decided to attack, choosing big, bold moves over more secretive ones. His favorite? Destroying buildings, mainly ones filled with people. As little analysis goes on to explain how President Mike had been able to take down the villain with a focused blast of sound, and how President Mike had clearly known what he was doing, as elephants are especially weak to noise due to their greater hearing. Aizawa watches his students, and while they don't recognize the fight, it's clear they recognize their peer's younger voice. Bakugo, for one, is openly gaping at the video, eyes narrowed in surprise. The video ends with a cheerful farewell, and Aizawa has to hide his smirk at the absolute silence of his normally loud class. That analysis was made 5 years ago, Aizawa informs. Now, who really thinks that I have anything to teach Midoriya about analysis? No one answers. Aizawa turns and begins the lesson. The door opens, and Midoriya walks in. Sorry I'm late, Midoriya apologizes immediately. Yamada-sensei and I were talking, and I got distracted, but then I saw the clock, and so I grabbed my stuff and hurried back. Midoriya sighs as he hears footsteps racing through the halls, and holds back a groan when Yamada darts into the room. Sho! Yamada shouts. I lost my little... Yamada immediately notices Midoriya, who stares up at him. My listener. Hey, buddy. You didn't lose me, Midoriya responds. I told you that I was late for class. You're excused from this class, Aizawa cuts in. The next few classes, actually. I am? Midoriya asks, surprised. Why? Aizawa-sensei can't teach you anything, Todoroki announces nonchalantly, causing Midoriya to blush and stammer. What do you mean? Of course he can teach me. It's a unit on analysis, Aizawa states bluntly. I used your old videos as examples on the proper forms of the matter. I don't think you need to learn anything from me. My videos? Midoriya blanches, glancing at the finished video. Wait, I made that when I was 10. Aizawa-sensei, those videos are awful. Immediately, there's chaos. That video was really in-depth, Midoriya. And you made it an hour after his fight. You had more brain cells at 10 years old than Kaminari has now. Hey, I mean, it may be true, but you shouldn't say it, Jiro. Your video was amazing, Deku-kun. It was really cool. You were rather well versed at 10, Midoriya. I do hope that you have more recent videos. I'd like to watch them when I have time myself. Midoriya's head turns with each additional compliment, his eyes taking in whoever was speaking. Aizawa smiles at the boy's red face, hiding the expression within the folds of his capture weapon, nudging the boy's shoulder as he says, You'll be fine without this unit. Why don't you go finish your conversation? Midoriya lets Yamada lead him out without complaint, and Aizawa is filled with pride as he watches the kid go. It may be how the boy wanted his secret to go, but it's clear that his peers are impressed by his abilities. Maybe one day Midoriya will be too. Aizawa will wait for that day patiently, and until then, he'll just have to keep turning in to the boys' videos with his friends. But that isn't a problem. No, it's not a problem at all. Hello everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to my first podfic. Sorry for any noises in the background. Siblings are just being loud right now. Also, if I messed up any words, it's late at night, okay? I don't have time to record a better version of this. So this is the best you're gonna get? Yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the Viridian Ghost signing out. See you guys next time.